Tanks. These walking death machines were implemented very well in World War II, and it shows to reason that tanks were one of the biggest war advancements that we had in society. In World War II, they became a predominant fighting force for both sides of the war, the Allied powers and the Axis powers. Here, we see a Panzer tank. Panzer tanks were used on the Axis powers side, mostly by Germany. For example, the Panzer I could reach speeds of 40 kilometers per hour and had 14.5 millimeters thick steel as their armor. And here, we see an M4 Sherman tank, used mainly for the Allied sides, namely the USA. The name Sherman was given to them by the British.
Got it.
Over 50,000 Sherman tanks were made, which gives an average of 100,000 troops dedicated to just operating tanks, let alone building and training for the tanks. And here we go to a faux news bulletin, solely designed for this video.
Hi, I'm Spartacus Weatherbean, and this is the news. It has been discovered that Adolf Hitler was quoted saying, "Whenever I think of this attack, my stomach turns over," to tank warfare specialist Ernst Guderian prior to the assault on Kursk. This is probably because tanks were hella scary and formidable weapons in warfare.
Oh, well. You're take one.
Take two.
No, you're take one.
I'm take two, I'm the German tank.
Does this make me take one? Yeah!
And so, as we do more research into tanks, experts have found that while they operated widely on a two-person operation, one for the machine gun, the other for the cannon, we've decided to delve deeper.
That's right. While the Panzer and Sherman tanks were most predominantly known, there were others such as the T-34 and the Azov Stalin tank, which were on the Soviet side, which explains their weirdness.
Indeed. Now back to the main tanks. The Sherman tank was highly popular and had a separate version called the Sherman Firefly, which was faster but less armored than its M4 counterpart.
That's right. And while the Shermans advanced, so did the Panzers. The Panzer IV was one of the most widely used tanks on Germany's part, with over 8,800 being made. These tanks started off with about 20 millimeters of armor, but was quickly increased to 50 millimeters after the invasion of Poland.
Very true. The driver of the tank and radio operator sat at the front of the hull, where the radio operator was also in charge of manning the machine gun. The Germans adopted a 5-man system in all tanks that lasted until their defeat at the end of World War II.
But now it's time for an honorable mention. This one goes out to the German Tiger tank, which was created in World War II around 1942. This thing was a monster and was declared one of the most powerful armored tanks in the world, creating a psychological fear known as tigerphobia because no Allied tank dared to engage in open combat with one.
That's the wrong source. We're fine. Okay.
Thank you for that. Now back to the Allied forces. The Allied forces had Sherman tanks, which, while not as powerful as German Tiger tank, greatly outnumbered the German tanks. And while quality can sometimes outdo quantity, this was not the case, especially so when the Sherman tank kept evolving, turning into the T-28, T-29, and T-30 models, which were by no means anything to mess with.
Naturally, the Allied forces tanks soon began defeating the Axis tanks, and World War II was won.
Yes. And now, for your viewing pleasure, we will see a dramatic reenactment of tanks undergoing battle.
You suck, Sherman tank.
I'll show you! Just get all of it. Just get
Alright. Go.
I'll show you! We're tanks! I won the war.
Now we should
Pretty proud.
And yay, the Panzer tanks have proven to be fancy tanks.